happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. There we go. You get out what you put in. How you doing, Phil?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm absolutely buzzing. It's a glorious day, and I get to chat to you again. We met at the Digital Accountancy Show, and we had the fireside chat, and so many people gave me some amazing feedback. And I'm just going to ask all those questions again for those people that couldn't make it to the fireside chat. So very, very first question, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Phil Ellerby. I own Northern Accountants. We're based in Leeds. We're now a team of 24, with a couple of things pending. So we general accountancy practice, nothing particularly weird and wonderful in that sort of thing. We're not a niche business in any way, shape, or form. We're niche in the offering that we provide in terms of the app stack and things like that. But we've been on an interesting journey from myself in a shed in 2008 to being almost bust in 2010 to being it'll be 1.7 million by the end of the month. So yeah, it's a huge transitional sort of journey over quite a short space of time, really. So yeah,
that's a great nutshell. You just let something slip that I didn't know. So 2010, you nearly went bust. So yes. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what most people do. You set up in a business and it starts to roll, and you've got a lifestyle that you need to live and to support. So work you take on is work you wouldn't necessarily take now when things have changed. So you're taking things on price, you're winning on price, you're overworked, you're under-resourced, working all the hours God sends, not getting paid. All the sort of fundamental mistakes I think a lot of people make in the early days after they've had this sort of entrepreneurial seizure, where it goes, I can do this. It's all the things that nobody ever tells you about. So so we were in there, and it got to a point where, there was a day, and it was in August, and my wife came to me, pregnant with our second boy, Jackson, and she had our eldest at the time, Joshua, stood there with her, and she asked me, is there any money in the account to go to Asda? Which I suppose anybody can relate to who's a dad. Or a parent in any way, shape, or form, when that's your responsibility to look after somebody from that point of view, and you don't know if you can continue to do it, or there are doubts that you're able to do it. It's kind of a gut-wrenching moment. So yeah, we were done that day, and I went to see a friend of mine who was a pretty senior guy at PwC, and never asked him for any favors before, and he saw the state that I was in. I was a bit of a mess, and he just said, "Come work for me from Monday. Shut it down. Forget it. We'll sort something out." And I went home, told the wife. She was like, you don't want to ruin that friendship by taking a job with him. He'll have to fire you within a fortnight. So, you can't do that. So you can do this. So we'll create a plan, and we'll move on from there. And that was August 2010. And here we are 12 years later in a completely different space and with a completely different set of problems.
Wow. So hang on. Let me just get this straight. You got yourself a job that you were going to earn decent money.
Yep.
You could come home at weekends and forget about everything. You'd have enough money to, feed your eldest, your wife, your pregnant wife, and your wife turned around and said, "Don't be daft. You can do this." And she believed in you.
She did, yeah, absolutely, 100%. So that was a reassuring moment, which kind of, I suppose, gave us the confidence to kick on and go again, really. And like I said, 12 years down the line, it was the best sort of decision we could have made.
So what did you do to get enough money to go to Asda?
What did I do to get enough money to go to Asda? Bigger credit card, probably. No, the first thing was we got involved with AVN, was a big thing, which again was a massive investment for us at the time. And they gave us the tools to price correctly. And there was this piece of software that they used at the time called Time's Up. And that was absolutely transformational in my business. It meant we priced the right. We didn't compete on price. We believed in it. We went all in on it, and really helped us to make some more money and add more value to the clients and things like that. So it was quite a transformational thing. That was the big thing that we did. We started getting paid by direct debit, started getting paid in advance. So, it took a couple of years to get to that stage where we'd done that through probably 18-month transition from being billed and waiting months and months and months to get paid to being paid in advance. It took about 18 months to complete the transition. And that's been the fundamental thing we've just built on going forward. Yeah,
no, absolutely superb. Andy's got something to say here. Wife of the year, and I totally resonate with this, Phil, because I was in a position, I don't know, 14 months ago, and I'd left my job and I was going to go and get another job, and my wife said exactly the same thing: set up on your own. Up on your own. You don't need to go and work for anybody else. So, you know what they say: behind every great man, there's an even greater woman. So
absolutely. And a friend of mine put a post out the other day, Stuart Ramsey from Accountancy Extra, and he was paying tribute to his wife about the sacrifices that she made. And absolutely the same when it comes to my wife and many other sole practitioners. It's so fundamental that you have that support at home, because if you don't want a battle at work and then a battle at home.
No,
we still have those battles. Don't get me wrong. Just yesterday when I came home late from Beverly Races because I didn't tell I was at Beverly Races. But these things, it's those little things and things roundabouts and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely, the support from home is absolutely fundamental, and I don't think you can achieve those things without a hell load of pain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So do we wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to be an accountant, or what motivated you to become an accountant, Phil?
Well, I alluded to the friend I had at PwC before. He's a man with 5 daughters, didn't really have a son. Good friend of my dad's. At school, I was a little bit of a kid who had a bit of potential, but didn't really explore it. A bit of a class clown, kind of cracked on. Didn't know what I wanted to be in life. And this guy came over to give me a careers talk, and he picked me up from school in a Ferrari. Which kind of made me.
So how old were you then?
I was 15 at the time. It was about.
And someone turns up in a Ferrari. What did your mate say?
Well, I was the coolest kid in school for a while.
I bet you were. That is.
I'd never been that before, and I quite liked it. So yeah. And he said the first thing when I got into the car, he said, "If you become an accountant, Phil, you can have one of these one day." It's true. I got into accountancy.
Yeah, so I see loads of accountants driving Ferraris. Yeah, that's fair enough.
So that's exactly why I did it. So yeah, that's the whole reason that I did it.
You. So you've gone on this amazing journey. Okay, you've won Accountant of the Year, or I can't remember the specific title. I've got it written down somewhere, but I just like talking to you. But there was a time when you nearly gave it all up and went and got yourself a job.
Yeah.
So what's been your driver, Phil? Why have you just pushed and pushed and pushed?
There's a couple of reasons, really. I think there's a desire to be successful and to be the best that I possibly can be, and our business to be the best it possibly can be. So I suppose there's a bit of an ego trip there, I guess. It's something I want to be good at what I do, and I want to be, I want to be the best in business, and I want to provide nice things for the family. But I also do an underlying thing, and it's not this, they're my primary functions, to be successful and to provide for the family. But I also think that there's a massive opportunity in our industry to provide a better service, because I don't think in a general rule, and that is particularly well serviced. I think our product is crap. Would anybody buy a set of accounts if they had to buy a set of accounts? Would anybody pay for these 15, 16 pages of blurb that don't really tell anything as a standalone 9 months after the fact? Does anybody want us to tell them how much tax they owe to the taxman? They don't. They have to. So we're a necessary evil. But I've always been a sort of numbers fan, and I've always believed that numbers make the world go round. And I just believe that insight and that information in there helps businesses kick on. And I think they've just never had that opportunity to get that on a sort of lower level. A smaller businesses will always struggle to get that information purely and simply because of the cost. I think to find that information, help them present them, and to help them be more successful is a real driving force to us. And I think our offering does that. And that's what it's always geared to do, to make sure that the client has the information to make the right decisions on their business, as opposed to doing it a little bit blind or being advised by somebody who doesn't really know their business on how to grow it. So it's that's kind of where we do it.
And this, I guess, is why you won Digital Accountants of the Year.
Well, we won it last year, so we're not the reigning guys anymore. We handed that baton over to a great firm. We did a lot of things during the lockdown periods about conversions onto Xero and things like that. I think we gave about £500,000 worth of services away in that period about transitioning people onto the cloud. So that's setting people up on Xero, training them on Xero, doing the conversions, putting receipt banking, paying for the softwares and all those sorts of things. Great support from the vendors, don't get me wrong, but we did count it was about £500,000 worth of services we gave away, because we believed that at that time, more than ever, businesses needed real-time accounting information. And on the back of a spreadsheet, on an outdated Sage system wasn't sufficient. It wasn't enough. So we went on a limb, and we were a massive drive, and our team were phenomenal in that. They did all the work that they had to do anyway. They did all the COVID support that they had to do, and then they also did all this transitional work as well. So they were phenomenal in that time period. And I think that's what really, probably tipped it for us about, what we did there in that sort of COVID period. And that, coupled with all the attitudes towards app stacks and, the bolt-on services we did with R&D and all those sorts of things. It was, I thought the team did a phenomenal job.
I think when our backs were to the wall during COVID, there was a lot of people doing outstanding things, and it's great to see, and all of that looks like it's come back to you. So you get out what you put in, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's no two ways about it. The loyalty that we kind of earned in sort of COVID, and there was a lot of thing about paying things forward in the COVID sort of times, wasn't there? And we certainly paid it forward, and it's come to fruition now. So yeah, 100%. It was a tough slog, and the team were relentless with it. They were phenomenal, and they went out on a limb, and they went that extra mile. And as such, people rave about them now. Jane picked up Xero's out, whatever it is, most valued trainer or something like that, or valued advisor or something like that. But again, people went out of their way to vote for her there. I think, it was a voting competition, and I think there wasn't anybody anywhere near her. And that's people who've gone out of the way and voted for her. So, it was phenomenal, that. And that just goes to show, if you do put it in, and I'm not saying anybody else doesn't, but if you can go above and beyond, it certainly will be paid back in dividend.
Yeah, I do an awful lot of things that people say, oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, but it does. It is paying it forward. I don't know about you, but if I let someone out, I'm in my car and I let someone out of a junction, later on that day, someone will let me out. It's what comes around goes around, doesn't it? I don't know how it all works, but it just seems to work.
Yes. But does it infuriate you when you don't let on and say thank you? Because it really pisses me off.
or you're at the supermarket and someone's just got a bag of nappies. Just let them go. It really
out the way.
Yeah. So the secret to Northern Accountants' success, what do you pin that down to?
The team, if I'm honest. I do genuinely believe our team is fantastic, and we've worked incredibly hard on generating a culture here which is underpinned by a set of core values, and the team living and breathing those values means that they're bought into our vision and our direction. And when I come up with these crazy wild ideas like giving £500,000 worth of work away, on top of dealing with furlough and bank cash and all the banks and all the loan applications and deciphering it all, they follow us into battle, really, and they put themselves out on a limb. And yeah, I think having a fantastic team who there is no compromise on attitude, ability, or commitment. There's no point having the best accountant in the world who's got an absolutely appalling attitude. There's no point having the worst accountant in the world with a brilliant attitude. It has to, they're the three things that we won't compromise on when it comes to our team, and as a consequence of that, we have great people around us.
No, that sounds absolutely fantastic, and it sounds like you really, really appreciate them as well, which is great. Do you do? Have you got a fireman's pole or a snooker table or anything like that in your practice?
I wanted a snooker table, but the team actually overruled me and put an extra meeting room in. Okay. We have a little bar area, we have a dartboard and various bits and pieces like that. So we just bought the offices next door, and we're just putting a breakout area for them in. So there'll be the TVs on the wall and stuff where they can go and just relax a little bit and move out of there. So yeah. There's a few bits and pieces.
Fantastic. Because some of these big companies, your Googles and your Apples, they think that culture is all about having all these things, isn't it? And it's not. It is the people, and we make the culture, don't we? And again, it all comes from you and your leadership team and people like that as well. You're doing an awful lot with tech. You were talking about. There's no compromises there, is there?
No, we're very rigid. On our internal function for people we look after the finance function for, they must use Xero, they must use Dext. If they want us to make payments, we use Comma. If they want us to do credit control, we use Chaser. There are certain tools we use for reporting. We use Go Cardless. There is no compromise. That's how we work. We don't work on multiple platforms. We only work on Xero internally. We do have clients externally who have different software packages. That's their decision, but we're not involved in that day to day. So I ain't got a problem with that. As long as they're using them correctly. If they're not using them correctly, then we steer them into sort of our pathways. But yeah, very, very rigid on our stack, purely and simply because we only have to be experts in one of them then. We don't need to know every single package, every single way, and everybody have a different way of working. So it makes us incredibly efficient.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Andy's listening to every word we're saying here. Thanks, Andy. It's great to have you here as well, Andy. I love your comments. I saw an early Steve Jobs interview where he said that leadership was provision of that vision and letting the team get on with it, which sounds a lot like Phil's just said. Great to see him give such credit to his team. Sounds like a great guy to work for. He does, doesn't he?
I'm not sure they'd agree with you, especially after some of the bombshells I drop on him. This is happening now. Yeah,
but I've been working with accountants, as you know, for 15 years, and when you were saying about the accounts earlier, people don't want to buy them. It just reminded me of a guy I met when I was working at Digital, selling software, and he came in and he must have spent a whole morning with him, showing how to use the software, etc. And we were going through the accounts package, and you press a few buttons and numbers come in, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it then prints out all these lovely statements and stuff like that. And he said nobody ever reads them. He said, what I want to do is print it in French and see if anyone actually comes back to me. And he said, I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they would either.
But we haven't moved on from that. But it sounds like you are, and I think that's the thing.
I like to think that we are. Yeah, I like to think that we are. And again, it's about the interpretation. There was a lot of talk in the industry about compliance being dead and all this sort of nonsense. But compliance will come under fee pressure without doubt because of the automations of the systems and what the software is capable of doing. But it's the interpretation of the information that no one's ever going to move away from. What do these numbers mean? And that's what we're specialists in. Interpreting what a number means and being able to dissect that information and relay it in layman's terms that a business owner who has no real interest in their numbers because they're an expert in
LinkedIn training.
They're not interested in those numbers at all, but he's an expert in LinkedIn training, but needs those numbers to make the right decisions for his business. And that's my job as far as I'm concerned. It's not to tell you how to grow your business. Everyone jumped on this advisory bandwagon, and I'm not fully au fait on that. I'm not fully on board with that either, purely and simply because I'm an accountant by trade. I know how to grow an accountancy business. I know how to understand numbers. That does not mean I know for 1 second how to grow a LinkedIn trainer's business. So who am I to say I'm a business advisor? I tried that model years ago, and I remember sitting there and talking to a painting contractor in the morning and an HR consultant in the afternoon. It's like, what do I know about these businesses? Absolutely nothing. So how can I be an advisor? What I am is I can give you the information you need to make those decisions, and you're best placed to make those decisions. I challenge the information, but so like I say, it's about moving in the right direction and providing a service that adds value to a client. And as a business owner, and I'm a business owner, so I like to think I know what I would need, and subsequently that's what we try to deliver.
Absolutely. You're just talking so much sense, and you're on a direct path. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do it. You know what you're doing. You know what. And Claire's just said she's pleased to hear this because this is her business model too, and she feels she's on the right path. Yeah, you can be like Phil too, Claire. So yeah, superb. Look, this is only supposed to be 50 minutes. We're getting close to 30 minutes. And there's so many other things I want to ask you. But how do you differentiate yourself from all the other accountants, nearby in the UK, whatever? How do you differentiate? What makes you different?
Well, Well, technically, we do exactly the same job as what they do. Nuts and bolts is we give you the same information at the end of the day. So we're no different from compliance. We're not better than anybody else. We're not worse than anybody else. So from a fundamentals product point of view, that's what we offer. I think the difference is the way in which our team work with the clients. We switched it from a compliance business to a customer service business, so that our team is readily on the front line and available to answer queries, to deal with challenges, and to support clients when they sort of face different scenarios that they wouldn't normally come across, and they're looking for that guidance from an accountant. So rather than our team being too busy to work because they're in the middle of a compliance review or whatever it might be, the team's available. And I think it's that sort of attitude to becoming a customer service business and moving away from a compliance provision is what probably differentiates us a little bit. And there are many other great firms out there that do the same. I'm not the only one doing this. I think the businesses that have recognized that, the successful businesses I talk to, and the successful business owners I talk to, they're doing the same sort of thing. It's customer service, not compliance service.
Yeah, no, you are owning that business relationship, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you've put things in place so that you're. It's a bit like when you go out for a meal. When you go out for a meal, the food's okay, but if you've got a really great, waiter, waitress, sommelier, barman, whatever, that it just lifts the whole thing up. And this is what you're doing. You're turning a bland meal into an exceptional feast. Pratish reckons you're very inspirational. So and Andy's saying, well, a great set of values. Phil, I could chat to you all day. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. What advice would you give to anybody who's thinking about setting up in practice, or maybe someone who's just about to go round and get a job instead of keep pushing it on because they've got to go to Asda?
Advice. Well, pricing's important. Get your pricing right. Get paid first and foremost. Build systems that are easy to follow, that give you transparency, and then employ really great people to run them, and pay as much money as you can for the right person. If you've got the choice between a cheap option who will be okay and an expensive one who will be exceptional, pay for the exceptional. If you can make the sacrifice, because it reaps dividends 100 times over. I made the mistakes. I employed cheaply at the beginning, and it was just throwing resource in, and all you end up doing is propping up that. So you've got your own job to do and somebody else's job to do. If I could go back, I would. And now we recruit to the highest standard. So we want every recruit has to make us better and stronger. So if you can get into that sort of model, and because you're getting paid in advance and by direct debit, the cash is there, you're able to invest in your team, and it'll get to a point where it can run without you for a sustained period of time. So this, like this year, I finished next week on Friday for 5 weeks. I'm off to Portugal, and this business, fingers crossed, will still be surviving and thriving when I come back. Of course, I'm not going to be off for 5 weeks, and I will be around. I will have a break where I'm not around for a short period, but I'll be on every day and keeping on top of things and stuff like that. So I think your team is so fundamental to you. I just can't emphasize what it is to have a great team.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because if you've got the team, they're quite happy for you to go away because they know they can do it without you. And so if you happy
to get rid of me, I think.
If you could take 5 weeks off, that's a great start, isn't it, Phil?
It's not a bad start. But yeah, hire good people and let them get on it. Get out of the way. Let them do it. Give them the systems how you want it to run, and let them run it. And then they'll tell you what's not working and what is working. They'll tell you what improvements you need to make. And my job's just to keep them happy and keep the systems moving and developing. And because I do a lot of that work now, and just let people do what they're bloody good at and enjoy doing. They don't need to be micromanaged by me.
Absolutely superb. I've got one more question, but before I go to that, I just want to go to my guest next week. I don't know if you know her. I'm just gonna get rid of that one a second. I don't know if you know Amanda C. Watts, but
I do.
She's coming on next week to have a little chat with me. She's all about marketing. She does amazing stuff. She's working with accountants and bookkeepers, so she's coming on next week. So I'm going to have a chat with her. Phil, thank you so much for coming on. It's absolutely delightful talking to you. You really are inspirational. Just got one more question, right? this, you know, I like I said, I've not seen any accountants driving Ferraris. When are you going to get one, or have you got one? Where are you with the red sports car?
I do have one. It's not red.
It's not red.
It's not red. It's a matte grey. Yeah, I bought one in December for my 40th birthday, which was in the previous August. So yes, I do have a Ferrari.
Absolutely. So your I don't know, adopted father, whatever you want to call him, at was it PW?
PwC,
yeah. He was right.
He was right, but I got it 10 years before him. So the only thing I'm ever going to win in that battle.
Do you ever remind him?
I reminded him once, and he promptly told me where to go. He said, we'll compare positions when we're dead.
Phil, you've been an absolute delight. I'm going to end with this comment from Andy. What a surprise. Just watching an accountant talk about his business, and it's properly inspirational.
Thank you,
Phil,
Andy.
you're a superstar. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you to all your lovely comments, everybody. And we will see you next week. Cheerio now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.